investigation, solving mysteries in the night. Chasing shadows, finding answers, shining bright light. No one's left behind, in the darkness all alone. With a heart like a siren, she brings the lost ones home. Silent cries in the dark no longer have to be, for justice wheels keep turning, granny on the beat. Broken voices find their power, call out hope again. These crime busters run, no victims left to pay. Bravery in her veins, truth she won't disguise. With a fire in her eyes, she's got nothing to deny. Granny fights for justice, never backs down from the call. For the voiceless and the missing, she'll stand tall.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Let's see. Hello, Ginger. Good to see you. Everybody else that's coming on in. Tonight is a show full of hope. Full of hope. Lots of good things to see tonight. No drama, just hope. I am going to start out by showing a couple of things. One was at night. Let's see. Their posts for today. Behind the scenes. We continue to work alongside our partners, analyze incoming intelligence, and track all leads with precision and discretion. We urge the public to stay vigilant, stay alert, and stand sturdy for Sebastian. Every tip, every moment of awareness, and every eye on this case counts. If you have information, no matter how small, contact Sumner County, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the FBI tip line. Alternatively, you can contact Dog the Bounty Hunter and at night by phone, text, or email. Sebastian is still out there. Until he's home, we don't rest. Okay. So a couple of things that I want you to remember. Sebastian is still out there. The other thing is no new developments available for public release. Doesn't mean there's no new developments, guys. So keep that hope alive, okay? The other thing was that yesterday, Robin was talking about an article that came out, but I think what she meant was it was a Dateline that Katie had done. I'll kind of share this article with you, but let me just double check. Okay. So this is quite long. Hopefully I can get through it all without losing my voice. Family of Tennessee teen Sebastian Rogers still without answers more than a year after his disappearance. The 15-year-old, who is on the autism spectrum, was not in his bedroom on the morning of February 26, 2024, and has not been seen since. Katie Proudfoot recalls the evening of Sunday, February 25, 2024, as a typical one at home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Her 15-year-old son, Sebastian Rogers, got ready for bed around 9 p.m., said I love you to his mom and his two dogs, and then headed to his bedroom for the night. Katie remembers hearing a noise coming from Sebastian's room around 10 p.m. I hollered out to him and he answered me. Katie said I didn't think a whole lot of it. About an hour later, Katie went to bed. Okay, so once again, we have changed our story, guys. So remember, she said the noise was at 10 p.m. That's pretty consistent, right? Except that it's back to a noise now. It's not a thud. I mean, remember, it escalated from she heard something, then it was a noise, and then a thud. Now it's back to a noise, but the time is still where she said it was, 10 p.m. An hour later, Katie went to bed. Well, an hour later from 10 p.m. is 11 p.m., if I'm doing my math right. This is new because, according to her and Chris, they were still on the phone until midnight, and Chris told her to go to bed and put the dogs up, right? So here's a new detail. You think police aren't watching, guys? I'm sure they are. Monday morning, Katie went to her son's room. It was about 6 in the morning when I went to wake him up for school. I went in his room and I was like, dude, time to get up. Okay, that's kind of new. You know, she's always just said, I went to wake him up and he wasn't there. Now it's a little more detail. I went in his room and I was like, dude, time to get up. This is also new. Normally he will like turn and look, and he didn't. And I realized he wasn't in his bed, Katie said. So that is also new. Interesting. The following moments are every parent's worst nightmare. I looked everywhere in and around the house and I couldn't find him, Katie said. I checked his bathroom and he wasn't in there, and I was like, okay, well, maybe he went to the kitchen, maybe he got up before me. And so I went through the house, and when I didn't see him is when I started to panic a little bit. And I ran through like literally every area of the house, everywhere. And that's when I really started to panic. Katie says she jumped in her car and began driving around the neighborhood. Katie also called her husband Chris, Sebastian's stepfather, who was out of town on a business trip at the time. It's like terror, Katie told Dateline. What happened? Where did he go? I was in my car and I stopped and I asked one of the ladies walking her dog, and she was like, no, I haven't seen him. And it really started to kick in at that point, Katie said. So guys, I don't think I've ever heard the story about her stopping her car and talking to a lady walking her dog. I could be wrong, but I don't remember that. What do you guys think? Hello, Canine Sam. Good to see you. Yeah, exactly. I mean, not only, all this stuff is made up, guys, right? Hello, Chemistry Queen. Give your grandbaby a hug. We love grandbabies here. But keep in mind, everything she's saying that happened here, I mean, we're looking for inconsistencies in her statement first and foremost, right? But and there are plenty of them, right? She's adding more detail as time goes by, right? But none of it happened because she knew that Sebastian wasn't in his bed when she got up that morning. She knew that already. So she didn't do any of this stuff that she's talking about. Yeah. The kitchen she had to walk through to get to his room. Exactly. make this bigger because you guys probably can't see it. Let me see. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So Katie says she then headed to Sebastian's school, got on a three-way call with Chris in the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. By the time she got there, she was told to turn around and head home because law enforcement was headed to their house. It was just like more and more people were coming and everyone was looking, and every time someone came back and they didn't have him, and she didn't finish her thought. Sebastian is on the autism spectrum. You wouldn't recognize him as a special needs person just by looking at him, Katie said. He is smart and capable and functional, but he does have areas that he struggles in. Wow, quite the difference from the way that her and Chris first portrayed what Sebastian was like when he went missing, isn't it? A lot different. Sam. Yeah, probably. It seems like whenever Chris has been on a panel, she's been sitting right there with him, right? So, yeah, I would think so. Katie told Dateline that Sebastian does respond differently in certain situations. He does have that sensory issue with loud noises, specifically like spontaneous ones, so he does avoid sudden loud noises, she said. He also hates bugs and would avoid any area where he saw one, according to his mother. What Sebastian loves is water. Swims like a fish, Katie said. The search efforts for Sebastian were immediate and intense. This was a very large-scale response, Sheriff Eric Craddock of the Sumner County Sheriff's Office told Dateline via email. Craddock directed Dateline to the TBI newsroom for more information. That morning, the Sumner County Sheriff's Office issued a missing persons report to begin efforts to locate Sebastian. A TBI endangered child alert was pushed out and was then elevated to a statewide Amber Alert. The website states, due to Sebastian's love of water, pools in the neighborhood were searched. Dive teams were brought in, and bodies of water around the neighborhood and beyond that area were searched, including caves. In his email to Dateline, Sheriff Craddock elaborated on what resources were used in the search for Sebastian. Everything: foot, canine, drone, air assets, fixed wing and helicopter, horse-mounted patrol, USAR, resources from across the state and federal government assisted with the case. The search during the week he went missing was extremely large scale. And we did see that. He's being totally accurate here. It was huge. But they found out very early on because they would not have put that Amber Alert out for him. That's child abduction, guys. The sheriff's office even employed some unconventional search methods in its attempt to locate Sebastian. Notably, they encouraged those participating in the search to play Sebastian's favorite music in an attempt to draw him out. This advice was called in by a citizen. I tried and will continue to try anything to bring a resolution to this case, Craddock said. They were playing Eye of the Tiger by Survivor. Despite the intense search efforts, no clues were turned up that led authorities to Sebastian's whereabouts. According to Sheriff Craddock, the Amber Alert for Sebastian is still active. Katie believes that wherever Sebastian went, he had every intention of coming back home. Katie believes that, guys. Now, this whole paragraph here makes no sense, and I'll tell you why after I read it, guys. Katie believes that wherever Sebastian went, he had every intention of coming back home. He was excited to start taking agriculture classes at school. They actually have animals in the school that the kids will work with as they advance through the classes, Katie said. And that was what he really wanted. He wanted to get in there and start working with the animals. No. Guys, we know that he was going to be living with Seth, and he was going to be homeschooled. So where does all this come up? Agriculture classes and working with animals. Where does all that come up? That was never even brought up before. Is she telling us something here? Remember, Mike DeMann said it. Even deception detectives said sometimes they will tell us things. Did she put him in a place that has animals? Like, there are many farms out there that ranches and things that have turned into programs where they help children with disabilities, and the kids learn how to take care of horses and ride and all that kind of stuff. Is that what she did? I'm just saying, guys. Is she telling us what she did with them? Could very well be. Let me take a look at. So let me see here. He's a ninja, Yeah, right. Hello, Cheryl. The ninja was to explain why no cameras caught him walking down the street. Yeah. Ginger says this new frequent mentioning of water is troubling to me. Yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing. They both said long time ago that in one of the first interviews that we just watched again, guys, not that long ago, was that Sebastian was not your, Chris's words, tomboy type kid. If he was going to go swimming, it was in a pool. It would not be a pond or a lake or a river. Nothing like that. So he wasn't attracted to water that way, only a pool. So I understand them searching all the pools in the area. Absolutely, right? The only problem is there's no scent of him leaving the house. I mean, I know they had to do their due diligence, but they soon realized there was no scent. That's why they knew it was an abduction. Hello, Pitter Patter. Good to see you. There was one thing when they saw a footprint, it was radios through that one of them saw something go into the cave. He went in the cave and said he couldn't get in safely. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You just seen it on here where she said he won't go anywhere where there's bugs. Caves are going to have spider webs. They're going to be dark. They're going to be close. I mean, I honestly do not feel like Sebastian would go into anything like that because of the bugs. Did she tell him he was going someplace and would be returning? Is he with a farm somewhere? That's what I'm wondering. Is she telling us where he is without, remember, guilty people will end up making statements, telling us things without even meaning to. It was from when the police put out their searching evidence that they were at the retention pond. They saw a boy near the other lake. It was a fake body, but then they mentioned the cave. Yeah, it was a mannequin. Right. Right. I remember she said he was very young in mind. Yeah, she did. Well, and Seth said that as well. Oh, absolutely, Canine. All he had to do was walk out at night in Tennessee and there would be bugs, lots of bugs. Yeah. Be the last thing that he would do. Especially go in a cave at night where he couldn't see what he was walking into. No. I'm a child who doesn't like bugs? No. He he never walked out. That's the thing. He never walked out. Sheriff Craddock wants to assure the public that the investigation into Sebastian's disappearance is active and ongoing. Our team is committed to following every lead, analyzing every piece of evidence, and uncovering the truth about what happened to Sebastian Rogers, he wrote in a statement to Dateline. We understand the community's deep concern and the desire for answers, and we share that concern. Here comes his however. However, I urge everyone to rely on verified information from law enforcement rather than online speculation. Here we go. Misinformation can hinder the investigation and distract from our efforts to bring Sebastian home. The sheriff would not comment on whether authorities suspect foul play or have any persons of interest in this case. I like that statement. Now, all the times before, we have nothing to suggest that there is foul play. How many times have we heard Craddock say that, guys? And now, this statement, the sheriff would not comment on whether authorities suspect foul play or have any persons of interest in the case. No comment on that. That's very interesting, guys. That's really interesting. Hello, Samantha. Good to see you. Right? Yeah. Oh, Tennessee has snakes too. Where are they going to be? Dark, cold places. You're going to, no. Sebastian's not going to walk. First of all, he's not going to walk out barefooted because he didn't like it. Right? He had an experience being barefoot outside when he was younger. So that would have been a strong no for him, number one. Secondly, he's not going to walk into a cave barefooted in the deep dark of night, not being able to see what's going on, what's there. No. Just, So Katie says he left but was returning. Ellie says no evidence of him leaving the home. Well, no evidence of him walking out of the home. That's a little bit different than him leaving the home, right? Yes, I do believe that Katie is telling us where she put him. The only problem is he still there? That's the only question. Our priority is finding Sebastian and bringing resolution to his family and this community, he wrote. If you have any credible information, we ask that you come forward and report it to the appropriate authorities. Together, we will seek justice and the truth. At the time of his disappearance, Sebastian was 5'5" and 120 pounds. He would be 16 years old today. He has brown eyes, blonde brown hair, and was last known to be wearing, I still have this wrong, a black long sleeve shirt, guys, black sweatpants, and black framed glasses. Squared. They were square framed. The Proudfoots believe Sebastian may not have been wearing shoes when he disappeared. Every pair of shoes in this house have been accounted for, Chris Proudfoot told Dateline. All the shoes that I can think of that we had in the house. Katie and Chris want to make the public aware of some of Sebastian's identifying features and tendencies. He has large... Where is this coming from now all of a sudden, guys? He has large freckles on the back of his neck and walks on his toes. We already discovered that, right? Didn't we, when we were looking at the TRH videos? I told you that my ex-husband walks like that. He walks on his toes. He also has a unique run, putting his arms slightly behind his back and leaning forward. They urge anyone who thinks that they see Sebastian to not approach him, but instead take pictures and call 911. Let law enforcement handle it if somebody spots him, but please stay vigilant, Chris said. What I've got to say about that is if I saw Sebastian, if I thought I saw a young man and I thought it was Sebastian, my phone would be taking pictures as I yelled, Sebastian, to see if he turned, right? And if he turned, I'd be dialing 911. I wouldn't approach him, but I'd holler his name for sure to see if it was him. The TBI newsroom asks anyone with credible information about Sebastian to reach out through the TBI tip line at 1-800-TBI-FIND. If the tip includes a possible sighting, pictures should be sent to tips@tbi.tn.gov. The sheriff urges any photographic information be sent immediately, as time may be of the essence in relevant sightings. And guys, think about it. I hate when people, and I think it's already happened in this case, and that's why they're putting it out there, take a picture and then they put it on social media. Could this be Sebastian? And they didn't turn it in right away. They didn't take it to their local police. They didn't. If Sebastian is being moved from place to place to place to place, guys, any sighting of him and where you saw him is going to be imperative, and it's going to be extremely important that you let that local law enforcement agency know immediately so they can go and check on it. Well, and this is kind of interesting. The FBI is offering a reward of up to $50,000 for information leading to the whereabouts of Sebastian Rogers. Well, you can tell that this article is totally driven by Chris and Katie Proudfoot, because they do not talk about the $447,000 total reward, any of the amount that is included by dog and at night. So you can tell that this one was totally driven by Chris and Katie. Interesting. This was Katie's first time giving some physical identity facts. Yeah. Freckles on his neck, walks on his toes, right? We didn't know about the freckles on his neck, but those of us who paid attention to how he walks picked out that he walked on his toes. We knew that already without her telling us that. Runs with arms back, leaning forward. Well, she has talked about that, but didn't she relate the way he ran to an anime character or something, which in my mind made it seem like Sebastian was silly. Yeah, that would have been more helpful than shiny pennies and paper clips. Yeah. Ah, you heard in another channel that the location of the freckles is wrong. I know. Yeah, well, we all heard what Dog and Nick aren't too happy about them ignoring the reward. Absolutely, right? Thank goodness that Dog, Nick, at night, Hong, all of them don't get upset with those who aren't promoting them, but their concern and their focus is on Sebastian. They're not walking away. I mean, because think about it, they could. Well, if nobody wants to acknowledge that we're giving all of this money, fine, right? So, but they're not. They're focused on Sebastian, totally focused on Sebastian. So, one of the things that I wanted to do tonight was talk about a few cases. So, remember, I've said that there are people out there are kids out there that were missing and they came home, right? And it's easy to say that. But tonight I'm putting my money where my mouth is because I wanted to let you guys know there's hope. It does happen. And we're going to watch a few clips to show you that it does happen. This one is missing kids who were found alive years later.
These kids were found alive years after going missing.
Morning.
In 2022, Utah deputies made an astonishing discovery.
Guys, pay attention to this story. I mean, seriously.
After approaching a man who was cold and down on his luck.
You want to come sit in his car and warm up for a minute?
Police found him outside a gas station in Park City, Utah. He got into the sheriff's car to escape the cold. Jim Murray explains.
They took his fingerprints in the car and then did some more digging and realized something extraordinary. He seemed to be a match for a teenager who'd been reported missing nearly 3 years ago.
Connor Jack Oswald vanished from his home in Clear Lake, California in 2019 when he was 16. He'd been diagnosed with autism. The sheriff's office contacted the missing teen's family.
Is it him?
A little bit older, but yeah.
My sweetheart's wife. Oh my God.
He's my baby, you know. I never stop looking.
Every day.
You don't know how many times I've dreamed of that call or just opening the door and he was there.
Not much was known about where Connor Jack was for 3 years.
Everybody in that room was a parent. And how could you not be that emotional?
What the sheriffs did is incredible. It was like winning $1 billion.
In 2021, there were tears of joy and disbelief.
Wasn't that incredible? When I first learned that one, when I first heard this one, I was like practically in tears because it gave me hope for Sebastian, right? Autistic male, 16 years old, went missing. 3 years later, he was found. Now, Sebastian has so many people looking for him, it's not going to take 3 years, in my opinion. But it gives us hope, guys. Gives us hope. Let's continue on.
When a family in China was reunited after over 2 decades. In 1997, their 2-year-old son was playing outside their home when he was abducted. He was then reportedly sold to another family. An official investigation into the child's disappearance wasn't successful, but the boy's parents did not give up. His father started his own search, and for 24 years, he traversed China on motorcycle, handing out flyers and following leads. During the quest, he burned through 10 bikes, all of the family's savings, and got into several traffic accidents. But he was determined to find his boy. His search was over when police located a man matching the description of the son. A DNA test confirmed his identity, and the 26-year-old man was reunited with his parents. In 2018, prayers were answered for the family of a teenager missing for 5 years.
She's alive. That is the best thing that could have possibly happened.
Emily Paul was 14 when she vanished in 2013 from Tallahassee, Florida. Melissa Parker is her cousin who spoke to Stephen Fabian.
5 years goes by and you and your family, you don't hear a peep, right?
Nothing for 5 years.
Did you give up hope? Did you think she was still out there somewhere?
You never give up hope. I never stopped looking for Emily. I never stopped thinking about her. I can remember going out into crowds of people and you look at every girl who passes who's around that age and you think, is that her?
Out of the blue, a letter arrived addressed to Emily's mother.
In the letter, she basically said, yeah, I'm okay. I'm 19. I'm safe. I'm happy. I'm healthy. And I'm where I want to be.
A police captain posted a message on social media asking Emily to come forward so they could be sure the letter was legit and not written under duress.
Emily, if you'll do this, then I can close this case and I can have a peace of mind knowing you're okay.
To everyone's surprise, Emily walked into a local police station and asked to speak to a detective.
Her remarks to him was that she was happy, she's fine where she's at, and that she had a good support system.
There was a heartbreaking twist. Emily didn't want her family to know her whereabouts.
It's crazy, but she's an adult now and she gets to make that decision. I have no idea what it could take to get her to come home. I'm just hoping one day that she'll want to come back into all of our lives and be a part of it again.
Alex Batty was just 11 years old when he went missing in Spain in 2017. In 2023, he was found safe in France.
It gives me great pleasure to say Alex has now made his safe return back to the UK after 6 years.
The Greater Manchester Police says Alex never returned home from a vacation he went on with his mother and grandfather, neither of whom had guardianship of him at the time. The teen was found walking along a road in a town near Toulouse, France, and identified himself to a driver who stopped to ask him if he needed a ride. He was reportedly taken to a spiritual commune in Spain and decided to leave on his own.
We are yet to fully establish the circumstances surrounding his disappearance, but no matter what, understand that this may be an overwhelming process. He may now be 6 years older than when he went missing, but he is still a young person.
Alex was later reunited with his grandmother. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Andrea Swindle.
Isn't that interesting? So let me see what we've got here. All right. Hello, Justice Jane. Good to see you. Nero V, good to see you. Welcome. Seth seems to be the only parent looking, and CP gets angry with those who do search. Yeah. That's very true. Very true. No. And all of us here at Grammy's Crime Busters don't believe that he left on his own either. But what do you think, guys? The one about the girl, I find that kind of strange. I have to wonder if maybe there wasn't some kind of abuse going on in the home that she didn't want to come back. I mean, I don't know. But it's just good to know that there was resolution in all of those cases, right? And there's more. I have more. So I just wanted you to know and to grab onto hope tonight, because it can happen. Don't just jump to the conclusion that Sebastian is no longer on this earth anymore. He could be out there. He could be out there. I'm really starting to wonder if the labor farm thing isn't a real possibility. It's really making me wonder, honestly. Let's see. Here is another one.
I cannot believe it. This can't be true. This can't be true. It's a monstrous case.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at infamous and shocking cases of minors who were forcefully taken, only to be discovered years later.
This is the place where JC was held prisoner for 18 years, and where police say she was forced to raise the 2 children she had with the kidnapper.
Carlina White.
This is such an incredible story, and the family tells us they never gave up hope that she would come home one day.
In 1987, Joy White and Carl Tyson took their baby Carlina White to Harlem Hospital Center in New York City as she had a fever. However, Ann Petway, who was dressed as a nurse, took the infant and disappeared.
Oh, she's all right. Whoever got her home, she's taking good care of my baby.
For 23 years, White was raised as Petway's child. But after discovering her birth certificate was faked, White was told by Petway that her mother abandoned her. Not believing her tale, White searched online databases for missing children.
She wasn't sure exactly why she belonged to that family. There was things like there wasn't physical similarities and stuff like that.
There, she discovered images of herself and got in contact with authorities. In 2011, a DNA test confirmed she was the missing victim, and she was reunited with her biological parents. Petway was sentenced to 12 years in jail and was released in 2021. Alex Batty.
The twists in Alex Batty.
Wow, huh? Can you imagine? 23 years. 23 years. Yes, it would be, Melissa, wonderful to see Seth and Sebastian reunited. I mean, that's a day that we're all going to be ugly crying, aren't we? Ugly crying. Yes, Neryl, I believe that Katie was instrumental in Sebastian's disappearance and knows exactly where he is, or if not exactly where he is, who he's with. So let's continue on.
Batty's story are coming into focus.
After being raised by his grandmother, Susan Caruana, young Alex Batty was taken on a trip with his mother, Melanie Batty, and her father, David, to Marbella, Spain. However, they never returned to the UK. Melanie sent Caruana a video that detailed plans to live an alternative lifestyle. In 2023, Alex was found walking near Toulouse, France.
I thought I should stop and ask him if he was okay, or even just help him, or at least bring him back to a village, back to civilization.
He had left his mother and grandfather to return to the UK. For the past 6 years, the trio lived nomadically across Europe, living in various communes with other families. Alex was homeschooled and was made to work to earn money. Thankfully, he was reunited with his grandmother.
This moment was undoubtedly huge for him and his loved ones.
However, at the time of writing, Melanie and David have yet to be located. Gregory Jean.
And I feel so thankful to God, because without God, I don't think I would have been here.
In 2010, Gregory Jean Jr. and his brother Samuel visited their father, Gregory Jean Sr., and stepmom, Samantha Davis. Yet while his younger brother was allowed to return to Florida, Gregory was not, and was forced to stay in Jonesboro, Georgia. Even though his mom, Lisa Smith, alerted welfare agencies, the police weren't informed of the incident. Gregory spent 4 years at his father's. During that time, he was kept home from school, beaten and mistreated, while his step-siblings were given preferential treatment.
It concerns me as the police chief, more importantly as a father. You know, no one wants their child or any individual to go through the situation that this particular child went through.
In 2014, Gregory planned his escape by sending Smith a friend request on Facebook. The police acted and searched the property, finding Gregory in a nook behind a false wall. Gregory Jean Sr. and Davis were charged for their crimes.
They denied knowing the child existed. They denied knowing the child was in the residence. They had no idea who the child was and why we were there.
Sun Wei. In 1995, little Sun Wei was walking home from preschool in Liangshanyi, Sichuan province, China. However, he didn't return home. Instead, Sun was lured by a stranger with candy into a van. He was then sold to a couple in Jieyang, Guangdong province, where his name and birth date were changed.
3 decades of a one-child policy in China and traditional family preference for sons are factors believed to be contributing to many child kidnapping and trafficking cases.
Sun's parents, Sung Zhenghua and Peng Lianhui, didn't have a photo of their son, making finding him difficult. Zhenghua traveled across the country, working odd jobs while searching for their child. As a teen, Sun left the unkind couple who favored their biological daughter. He was later persuaded by friends to upload his DNA to a missing persons database, which led to a reunion with his biological parents 20 years after he vanished. Kayla Unbahan.
A family is in shock after a mother and daughter went on a camping trip but never returned.
In 2017, young Kayla Unbahan visited her mother Heather at her home in Wheaton, Illinois. The next day, her father Ryan went to pick up his daughter, who he had full custody of. Instead, both mother and daughter had vanished. The search to find Kayla was unsuccessful, and there seemed to be little hope. In 2022, Netflix's Unsolved Mysteries featured an episode on a taken child that contained an age progression photo of Kayla. In 2023, a store owner in Asheville, North Carolina, who had seen the episode, spotted a teenager who matched the image.
The more we tell the story of these missing children and put their images out to the public, the more likely that they're going to be recovered.
They called the police, who discovered it was Kayla.
You hear that, guys? The more that we tell the story, that we put their faces out there to the public, the more likely they're going to be seen by someone. Time to visit some animal farms and check who is tending the animals, maybe. Sebastian is very bright and may have to be doing work to pay for his room and board. Yeah, I mean, he could be, right? Sebastian may not even realize he's missing. I honestly believe that he was told something, right? Sebastian's last cry for help was telling Seth he didn't want to go home. Sadly, Seth could not get to know why, but why did CPS not inform Seth of the abuse cases? Yeah, exactly. And we did a story on that, Neural, about how CPS is just, letting children down all over the country. It's horrific. It's not just in Tennessee, but it is bad in Tennessee, right? It's awful. It's awful. So let's continue on. This one with Kayla, this was a abduction by a mother, and the mother ran off with the child. A little bit different than the mother. I don't know. Did Katie sell him? Did she? I mean, I don't know. If she's paying somebody to keep him, that can be discovered in their financial records, right? I mean, we don't know. Yes, I do believe that. I believe he was told he was going somewhere. Well, remember the violent head shake? And not only that, how many pictures have we seen of Sebastian where he has that bubbly, bright, fun smile, right? Guys, we didn't see that at all in the TRH video, not once. Not walking to and from the car, Not the whole time he was sitting there. He did not smile. Despite what Katie said, they had the best weekend, the best day. I call bull on that one because Sebastian did not have his smile. All right.
And reunited her with her father. Heather was arrested and charged for her crime.
What's most unusual is the ability to stay off the grid, if you will, for that period of time.
Stephen Stainer and Timothy White. In 1972, young Stephen Stainer was seized by Kenneth Parnell in Merced, California.
When Stephen didn't make it home from school, his parents immediately were alerted.
For years, Stainer was horribly mistreated by Parnell as they moved around California. When he got older, Parnell attempted to use Stainer to take another victim. However, the boys sabotaged each attempt. Using another method in 1980, Parnell took little Timothy White. Desperate to prevent White from suffering as he had, Stainer escaped with White 16 days after he was taken.
He literally said, I was not going to let that child go through what I had already been through.
Parnell served 5 years in jail for taking Stainer and White. He was later sentenced for an unrelated case to 25 years to life and died in 2008. Sadly, Stainer passed away in a motorcycle accident in 1989, and White in 2010 from a pulmonary embolism.
Stephen was a national hero.
Steve Carter. In 1977, Mark Barnes' girlfriend, Charlotte Moriarty, vanished with their son Mark's Panama Barnes in Hawaii. While Barnes reported the incident, he never saw the pair again. Moriarty handed Marks to a stranger and gave cops a fake name and birth date for her child. She then checked into a mental health hospital before disappearing. In 2011, after reading about Carlina White's story, Steve Carter in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania researched his own history. After all, when he was 4, Carter was adopted from an orphanage in Honolulu.
We moved from Hawaii to Tennessee and then New Jersey when I was in the 3rd grade and didn't really think much about my adoption.
He visited the website missingkids.com and found an age progression image of Marks that looked like him.
The first person that came up, the image looked very much like me.
What followed next was a year of piecing together a puzzling timeline of his own past.
Carter then had a DNA test that confirmed he was the missing child after 34 years, leading to him reconnecting with his birth family.
Carter says he's always known who he is, and thanks to this sketch, now knows more about who he was.
Elizabeth Fritzl.
How on earth can these things happen? And in this particular case, how could he possibly get away with it for so long?
In 1984 in Amstetten, Austria, 18-year-old Elizabeth Fritzl was asked by her father Josef to help install a door in the basement. He then locked her up in this newly created prison. For 24 years, Elizabeth was hidden, while Josef told the community she had run off to join a cult. Elizabeth was forced to give birth to her father's children several times. In 2008, the eldest daughter Kirsten was taken to the hospital by Josef. His odd behavior and explanation for where her mother was concerned staff, who alerted authorities. When Josef returned with Elizabeth, the police swooped in, and the truth was discovered.
I cannot believe it. This can't be true. This can't be true. It's a monstrous case.
Josef pleaded guilty to the charges and was sentenced to life imprisonment.
For 24 years, no one suspected the appalling crimes that were going on in there.
J.C. Dugard.
This is the place where JC was held prisoner for 18 years and where police say she was forced to raise the 2 children she had with the kidnapper.
In 2009, Philip Garrido was at the University of California, Berkeley to see the campus along with his 2 daughters. However, their strange behavior led to Garrido's parole officer calling him to the office. He arrived with the 2 girls and their mother, J.C. Dugard, who had vanished in 1991. That year, the young Dugard had been seized by Garrido and his wife Nancy as she walked to her school bus in Myers, California. While people saw the seizure and there was a thorough search for her, Dugard couldn't be located for 18 years. In 2011, Garrido was sentenced to 431 years to life imprisonment, while Nancy received 36 years to life. Dugard wrote 2 books on her experience.
There was not a day that I didn't cry. I felt like there would never, ever be a day that I wouldn't cry again.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified.
Crazy, huh? But what I want everybody to get out of this is that there's hope. Many different stories and scenarios here, right? Abductions, kidnappings by parents, being sold to another family, the little Chinese boy, just all different kinds of scenarios. And we don't fully know what Sebastian's scenario is, right? But it doesn't matter. Because if we just keep the faith, we have hope, and we pray, I believe Sebastian can come home. Yeah, watch for farm workers with their hands in their jean pockets. Yeah. With the type of religion they follow, believing autism is demonic does make you want to check religious cults that could be harboring him also. Oh, gosh. We'll just come against that. But yeah, I mean, wanting, I don't know if their religion believed that autism was demonic, but at least I hope not. I don't think that Chris and Katie are too religious to begin with, you know. But yeah, I mean, having hope, watching all these today gave me hope that he can be found. Doesn't matter where he is, doesn't matter the circumstance, the scenario. All of these were different, right? The scenarios were different. Didn't matter. Can you imagine that man who searched himself and found his biological parents? To me, that's incredible. That's extremely incredible. I can't imagine, knowing that. I think Katie's leaking clues too. I think, and yes, of course, law enforcement is paying close attention. I, if they're not, I know that Nick is. Nick has a good eye for detail, and he'd be sending it to law enforcement. I would guarantee you, guys, let me see if we can find that piece. That animal situation right there, start working with animals. He wasn't going to be going to that school. So, and he knew that. That could have been one of the reasons why he was against going to live with Seth, if he knew that the school was going to have those animals in that program. Because I could see Sebastian wanting to do that, right? And so her words were, he had every intention of coming back home. That's a quote from Katie. That is a quote from Katie. He had every intention of coming back home. Why would she say that? Because whatever they talked about at TRH that night, she told him he was going away for a while, I think. But then he must have told her that he was going to come back home. Because she said, it's quotes, even though they said Katie believes that wherever Sebastian went, now it's a quote of hers. He had every intention of coming back home. Guys, I'm so glad that we have gone through the statement analysis stuff, right? Because we're picking this stuff out. Yeah. How would she know that? Yep. 100% believe she told him that. Yeah. I think he told her he's coming back home. He wasn't happy that night. I think she told him that he was going somewhere else for a while, and that's when he shook his head violently. But they did talk a little bit back and forth after that. Maybe she told him he could come home at some point. But even Chris has said that they did not expect this to get so big. So now it's not so easy to just bring him back home. Because, guys, if they did this, they're facing charges. Maybe not as long or as much as we would like to see, I don't think, but they're facing charges. Can you imagine the amount of money that law enforcement has spent on this case? Can you imagine? That's probably why they're scared to death. I think they're running really scared right now, guys. All of a sudden coming back out of the woodwork, getting on panels. Chris back to his old screaming and threatening tactics. They're running scared. Yes. She's made a point of telling him he's not in trouble. Aw. Well, we're just happy to have you, Poppy. I've wondered if they were going to bring him in time to live with Seth, then it got big. Yeah, here's my thinking. Total speculation, guys. Everything's alleged. Do your own research, right? Everyone's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, right? My little disclaimer out there. But here is my thinking. Those CPS reports, right, came out. I think that last one said that, and again, speculation because we don't know what was in those CPS reports. But I think that last one said that Chris could not be anywhere around Sebastian. We've also heard that Chris said, him or me. Chris made the statement, he thought he could get me out of my house. So Seth, not realizing the amount of danger that Sebastian could be in, or any abuse that he may have been suffering from, said, okay, I want to, he can move here the start of this summer and I'll have him enrolled in school. I've got him enrolled for the fall, right? Wasn't quick enough for Chris, in my opinion. Wasn't quick enough. He wasn't going to let any boy kick him out of his home, right? He wasn't going to let any boy one-up him. Because remember, Sebastian found his safe place at school. He found someone there who he could talk to, and that person reported the abuse to CPS. So that's my thinking. So then they did this, because remember, they were emailing back and forth. They wanted to put him in homes. Seth kept telling them no, because Seth was researching these homes, right? Yeah, been lots of cases of hiding children for attention or just to keep them away from the other parent sometimes. We all know that Katie didn't like Seth. $1 million? I mean, I don't know. I wish I wish there was evidence about that poker game, because we're hearing lots of rumors about it, but there's nothing to back it up, right? I'd like to know more about the poker game, about the Friday night poker game. Yeah, the date of the disappearance was significant as well. The 26th, and was 26 was the day that she filed for divorce as well. So obviously that date means something to her. I mean, could it be that they thought they'd send him away for a while and maybe let him come back to live with his dad? I mean, I don't know. But things got escalated. They never banked on the general public taking a look at Sebastian's picture and that smile and falling head over heels for this young man and wanting to help, right? Because that's my heart. I saw that face and I had to talk about him. And I will not stop until he's brought home. Well, and even then for a while, right? Because we're going to want to know what's going on and how things are going, and maybe there'll be a trial. We don't know, right? Yes, Katie has made some outrageous claims about Seth, and we all know that SF has been he has lied about things. Right, Poppy. I think the same thing, right? Cat's meow, welcome in. I'm going to have to disagree with you here. And the reason that I'm saying that, and it's okay, we can agree to disagree. I don't mind people putting their thoughts in here as long as they do it respectfully, which you have, and I thank you for that. Yes, Seth had plenty of time to take him, right? but he wasn't able to get him enrolled. Okay. So that was part of the problem. However, Seth was not aware of the CPS reports. And I honestly believe that if Seth had known the danger that Sebastian was in and the abuse that he was suffering, he would have taken his son in a minute. You know, when you don't know something, you can't be held accountable. He even asked, Sebastian told him he didn't want to go home. He asked Sebastian, "What's going on? Why don't you want to go home, son?" Sebastian would not tell him. You can't do something about something you don't know. Katie could have, right? You get rid of him, or I will. I wouldn't put that past Chris's mouth, right? We don't know. Alleged, guys, please remember. Oh, you did put, in my opinion. Thank you. Yes. It is significant when you're talking parental custody because at 18 they're considered an adult in the United States. So when he's 18, he will, no longer have to live with his parents. He could be on his own. If that was a plan, another problem for them would be that he would tell where he was and who sent him away. Yeah, Melissa, I agree. But the thing is, I think that if Sebastian was, as both sides have said, mentally younger than his age, couldn't they phrase him going away as I don't know, something that all the parents agreed on, and so couldn't it be possible? I guess what I'm saying is that he doesn't even realize he's missing. Yes. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that they are looking into these places. I think at night is. I hope he's not in one of those places because I really would rather hope that he's in a place for kids with disabilities, but even then that could be an issue because we've seen problems in those kinds of places as well. But yeah, there are private religious ones. There's a bunch of them in Missouri, where he allegedly was last seen, but they said it wasn't him. So yeah, I mean, I don't believe Seth is guilty in any way. I'm just saying he could have picked the kid up. He had, yeah. Right. And he could have, right? But he didn't know. He didn't know what was going on. Sebastian did not tell him. So, if he had known, I believe he would have. He kept his visitation schedule. It's not like he didn't see him. He called him every day after school. So it's not like he wasn't a part of his life, right? Yes. There was a waiting list, but he did get in for this school year. It was a waiting list for school, Cat's Meow. He wanted to wait until the end of the year because he didn't have him enrolled in school until the following year. That's why he was going to come at the summertime. Okay? So that's why he was waiting. He wanted Sebastian to finish out his year in school because he wasn't enrolled, right? To see the whole picture, yes. In my opinion, we're seeing the whole picture, but I think you're forgetting the fact that it was a problem of a waiting list. And that was the whole point. That's part of the whole picture. And yes, if he had known about the CBS reports from the beginning. Well, Cat's Meow, that would be easy to say, but not so easy to do when you've got courts and laws and things that go on. I mean, I was a divorced mother, so I know, right? You have to follow the law. I live in Hendersonville and schools are better in Sumner County, and I used to live in Clarksville and it's nice, but our kids had better services in Sumner County. Yeah, Seth knew Sebastian had a good school. Yeah. Yeah. Sebastian never said why he didn't want to go home. And yes, the guilt that Seth's got to feel now is exactly, Poppy Love. Thank you. I didn't think of it that way. Seth only had half the picture. He didn't know he was in danger. CPS was told by KP that Sebastian's biological father wasn't involved in his life, so CPS never tried to notify him. I agree with you, Cat's Meow. He didn't walk out of that house. You bring up some really good points, Nerlby. He's bright. He would know, in your opinion, but he had no one to turn to. He was told that evening. I'm sure he didn't, they said his phone was plugged in on the kitchen counter. All right. But I'm sure he didn't feel comfortable trying to pick up his phone to call his dad because Katie was right there in the living room. So she could have stopped him. Right. So he did have, so I guess he made like a ATM out of Legos, and he had money put away in that Lego ATM that he never brought with him. But in my opinion, Sebastian would never have tried to run, right? I don't think he would have. It didn't, from everything we're gleaning from his personality, he was an obedient child. I don't think he would have ever tried to run, no matter what he was going through. Yeah, Puppy Love. Thank you. And I like going over them. I like everyone, sharing their opinions and their thoughts here. That's important. because it does help us to figure out what happened, what's going on, right? Amen, K9. The truth is, he went missing on Katie's watch, and it's not the first time something happened to Sebastian on her watch, right? We could go back to California. We've talked about this. We could go back to California. Another older child was allowed to be in Sebastian's room unsupervised and ended up essaying him. Katie was there on her watch. It happened. Then she brought her child around her mother, who is a RSO. Okay. That again is putting a child in danger. And now we've got this. Well, no. Third, she lets her child be manhandled by a man, abused by a man that she calls her husband. And finally, he's gone. So you bring up a really good point. That's not true, Cat's Meow. It was a special online homeschool that there were only so many places for. And he had to do the homeschool thing. So, I mean, I know, yes, in any kind of public school, you can enroll your child. Yes. Were your boys, did they have any kind of a disability? Were they autistic, anything like that? Because sometimes to get them in those special classes, you have to wait. So interrupting Sebastian's school when there was only a few months before summer break and he didn't know how serious at all Sebastian was in. I'm sure if he knew about the CPS reports. Right. I agree. Cat's Meow, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you. I think that if Seth knew what was going on with those CPS reports, it would have been an entirely different story. We'll have to agree to disagree. That's right. Sebastian came home from school to an empty house. He had chores and homework to do before Katie came home. Seth spoke to him on the phone during these times every day. So it's almost like Sebastian wasn't home alone because Seth talked to him, right? Seth spoke to him. Yeah, Seth wanted Sebastian to get the therapy he needed. Sebastian was asking questions about the essay. Yes, he was. I didn't realize that, Samantha. Yeah. And kids will get it in their heads. You never know, you know, did they get disciplined? Were they grounded at home at the other house? I mean, there's my youngest daughter didn't want to go because her stepsister was mean to her. Well, I had no idea what was going on in that house. I said, "What does she do to you?" "Oh, she yells at me. She tells dad and I get in trouble." Okay, so that to me sounds like, all right, again, I've told you guys my youngest daughter had ADHD. She was a little firecracker, right? So, I felt like, okay, I'm just let her dad deal with that when she's over there, and I had to follow the law. He had his visitation rights, right? But there were many times she said she didn't want to go over there. And, she told me later on when they became adults that her stepsister apologized to her for being so mean to her. She was jealous of her because she was actually his daughter, right? And he adopted the stepsister, right? So, kids will say, I say all that to tell you, kids are gonna sometimes say, I don't want to go home, right? If they do not tell you exactly why, what can you do about it? No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if Katie did plan for Sebastian to leave that night, she certainly wasn't going to want him to call Seth. So yeah, don't think that he wasn't. No. I'm just saying that if he was, told that night he was leaving somewhere, I don't think that Katie would have let him have his phone to call his dad to tell him. In my opinion, right? I agree, K9, 100%. It bothers me when people go after Seth. He was doing the best he could, and look at what he had to deal with. Yeah. Look at what, even worse, look at what Sebastian had to deal with. I'm a divorced single mom raising a disabled young man on my own. I totally understand what you are saying because I ended visitation with my son's father. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Seth said if people knew what he read in the CPS reports, I think he said something like it would keep you up at night. The CPS person got fired too, allegedly for knowing what they knew, now missing. Yeah. Yep. I heard that as well. That CPS person got fired, right? So, Yeah. But the biggest thing here is that's a good point. The fifth report, I imagine, keeping a person up at night as the abuse was getting worse. Yeah. And remember that Seth said that they actually put quotes from Sebastian in that report. Can you imagine what that was like for Seth to read those? It's actually Sebastian's own words, right? It could be Ginger. I have a hard time believing that, though. I guess that's something I'd like to do some research on. Because they had joint custody. So I don't know how they can say they didn't have to legally let him know. So tonight's whole thing is about keeping Sebastian alive. What are you going to search for, Poppy? I'm just saying, if we're going to go out in the woods, what are you searching for after a year? Right? I believe Sebastian's going to come home alive. So as far as searching, the searching that Dog has mentioned is they are going to they're going to go to spots that they got tips on of where Sebastian might have been seen and canvass those areas. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking that they're going to do. Sebastian was not only failed by his mother, but the system as well in many areas. Yeah, very much so. But what are you looking for is my question. Are you looking for a dead body? Because I'm just not going to go there. In my opinion, Sebastian is alive. And if people are thinking they need to go out in the woods searching, they're looking for a dead person. If you're thinking that he's gone, you're not going to be looking for a live person out there, whether it's on a newscast in the background or whether it's in a parking lot or, a big, huge shopping complex or, out on the street. You're not going to be looking for a live person if you're thinking he's gone. And that's the thing that Seth wanted to get out to people. And that's what I'm promoting here. I'm not promoting going and looking for Sebastian in the woods. Because here's my thought. If he is gone, which I do not believe, but I'm just going to go there for just a second. If he is gone, they did a huge, massive search. Okay? That first week. People have searched since then. If he is gone, he could be anywhere. And remember, Chris said we'll never find him. So the only way he will be found is if somebody is hunting or fishing or doing and comes across the body. That's my opinion. Gotcha. Camp schools. And yeah, I mean, I would think that, especially with you living in Hendersonville, go do that. Put the flyers up in those places. Go to Seth's website or YouTube website and make sure all of the troopers have his flyer in their cars. I mean, there are people. Somebody told me that one of the surrounding towns around there didn't even know about Sebastian. One of those small towns around Hendersonville didn't even know about Sebastian. The police. So, yeah, just getting it out there anywhere that you think, he might be. Churches. I mean, rest areas on the highways that you travel. Think outside the box and go and put them out there. Get someone to go along with you, a friend, right? Absolutely. Seth just said, where in the world is Sebastian? Because he could be anywhere in the world by now. Please visit his site to get flyers and locations to notify. Yes, I do believe that Sebastian was tortured mentally and physically. But so, yeah, I mean, I think that, anything that if you guys are wanting, especially somebody local like you, Poppy, absolutely. I mean, not only that, gas stations, and there are places like Pilot and big truck stops, those kinds of things. The Walmarts. Guys, if the Walmart takes down the flyer, go and give them a new one and ask them to put it back up, right? You know, keep watching, especially if you're from Hendersonville. If where you saw a flyer before and it's not up anymore, go give them another one, right? Let them know that this case is still alive and, it's not dead, it's not cold, and we are not giving up, right? Because I think, that is what Seth is asking us to do. He wants the flyers out there. He wants Sebastian's face out there. Share his flyer out on your social media every day. You guys, have different followers than I do. I'm putting it out there every single day. I'm putting up a short little video with movement in the background or the text bouncing around, whatever, every day to try to catch people's eye. And then if you guys share that on your social media platforms even, or share the flyer, if you don't want to share mine, that's fine. But just sharing it, because each and every one of you have your own, people that I don't have, that somebody else doesn't have, right? Yes. Please leave ground search to the professionals in LE. There's a reason why they stop the ground searches, guys. Think about it. They know he's not there. Yeah, be safe. Don't go alone, but make it, I mean, if you're going into business places handing out the flyers, you should be fairly safe, I would hope, but it doesn't hurt to have somebody with you. Never ever go into the woods alone, but don't, leave the ground search to the professionals. There's a reason they stopped after a week, guys. I made a poster and sent it to Autism Services in USA for Autism Awareness Day. It was not shared on their websites. Sorry to hear that. How about a flyer? Will they put that up? Yes, improper searches can ruin evidence. Absolutely. Guys, here's a really good example. One of the cities that At Night put out a while back that they said they were going to hit on this spring was a town a couple of hours away from where I live. I emailed At Night and said, I'll be happy to go there. What do you want me to do? And I'm waiting, right, to hear back from them. Here's the thing. I have thought about going there, plastering flyers up at all the businesses. It's a small town, guys. But get this. It's a big farming community. Why? Why did they pick that particular town? Somebody see something? What tip did they get? It's in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of nowhere. But I'm not going to go and start plastering things up there, because there's a reason they're targeting that town. If Sebastian is being held on a farm there somewhere, I don't want to be the one to start bringing awareness that we know he's in that area and have him moved. So I'm waiting on an answer before I do anything. So see, you got to be smart. You got to be careful, because the last thing we want to do is to cause an issue. With the investigation. That would not be a good thing. Hello, Kristen. Good to see you. However, if law enforcement has eyes on everyone, maybe that's needed. Catch someone in the act. Maybe what's needed. I don't understand. those are all possibilities. But I think that Seth and Tony did go to Virginia. They didn't say why they went to Virginia, but who lives in Virginia, guys? You know, so pressure to where they move him. Yeah, but that it has to be a coordinated effort, right, Kristen? That's what I'm saying. I don't want to go and jump the gun before they go there because they are going to be working with law enforcement when they go there to be keeping an eye on everything, right? If I go there ahead of time, law enforcement's not going to know what's going on. They're not going to catch him being transferred anywhere. See what I'm saying? You're keeping me on my toes tonight. You really are. Okay. A while back, I don't know, it's been a few months, but At Night put out, I don't know, a list of, what was it, Ginger, 5 or 6 cities, I think, that when they get started this spring, they want help. It's near me, Poppy Love. I'm in Wisconsin, and it's like 2 hours away from where I live. I'm not going to give the city because I don't want people to go and target that town before they all get there together. Yeah, Christian, no problem. We like people thinking, you know, you never know what's going to happen. Yes, farming communities that have huge farms and they need labor. The area that I live in Wisconsin, it's for miles and miles and miles, hundreds of miles, farms everywhere. The town that I live in is a potato farming community, right? There are other farms there's dairy farms. There is corn, I'm trying to think of what else. Dairy and potato is huge in Wisconsin. Yeah, most everybody already knows that I live in Wisconsin, but sure, Neural, what do you want to ask? I'll do the best I can to answer. Guys are keeping me on my toes tonight. That's right. Before the threats and At Night went dark, they were posting about the areas they were hiring private investigators in and saying they were hiring private investigators for those areas, and they were also asking people to help with their searches. And when they're saying searches, I think they mean putting flyers and stuff up. They're not actually searching ground, right? So Chloe and SF said Sebastian was seen on CCTV taking trash out. Okay. First of all, I'm not going to believe anything that SF said, and because Chloe works with them, I guess I'm going to go there as well. Seth saw the video of a person taking the trash out. He said it was really grainy, and he just said that in his last, somebody asked him the same question in his last live that he did. He said it was too grainy. You could not make out who it was. Okay. Earlier, he had said that whoever it was had on a hoodie. Now, I want to submit to you guys that Sebastian was wearing a t-shirt, a black t-shirt at the Texas Roadhouse. I submit to you that Katie was wearing a hoodie. Closed caption TV, meaning a camera. Yeah. That's right. He is saying that. Right, Poppy. Security cameras. And there was one. And Seth actually saw the video, despite SF now saying that there isn't one. Yes, his mom sure had a hoodie on at Texas Roadhouse. She sure did. She sure did. And Sebastian did not. So, does it mean that Sebastian didn't come home and put a hoodie on? He could have. But I'm just saying, at the Texas Roadhouse, Sebastian had on a t-shirt and Katie had on a hoodie. Seth said he saw someone with a hoodie taking the trash out. Yes. Thank the good Lord. So that is interesting. Did law enforcement show Seth the trash video and not show the feet? I don't know. I do not know. All I do know is I think right here, Katie is telling us what's on the screen, where Sebastian is. He's at a farm working with animals somewhere. That's what I think. The only thing that I don't know is, did she sell him? Is she paying somebody to keep him? Or is he working for his own room and board so that she doesn't have to pay anything? I mean, we saw Sebastian was good with that excavator when he's given instructions, right? He loves animals. Yes. Seth said all of Sebastian's shoes were by the door. What about the back neighbor? Did they turn their security footage in? Well, they are Ellie. The back neighbor is reserve correctional officer with the Hendersonville Police Department. As far as we know, he did not. He only gave it to SF, but I don't know if that's true or not. They just said that they're not selling their home. So that's what Chris says. Can we believe him? I don't know. Yes, guys, keep Ginger Girl in prayer. She had her teeth removed and she's in a lot of discomfort. Just to learn how to eat her food differently, and poor little thing is in a lot of pain. So keep her in prayer. Well, and Kristen, the thing that I think is weird is that them leaving the home within a week after Sebastian went missing. An innocent parent of a child is not going to leave their home when their son went missing because they're going to want to stay there in case they come back, unless they know they're not coming back, right? It's on Zillow as of yesterday. Let me look. Well, it's showing on Zillow, but this is closed. This is when they bought it. But I'll go back again and see. Yeah. No, it's on Zillow, but Zillow keeps up their sold listing. So this, see, it says closed. Make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Okay. It says closed up here at the top. This is when they bought it. Okay. So, gonna see. I thought there was more information on when it was sold. Because I think it was September of 2022, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, right here it is. It was sold to them on September 16, 2022 for $641,000. Okay. That's the last time that it was sold. So it is on Zillow, but it's a closed listing. So no, they're not selling their home. Oh, K9, I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm glad you have her home. No, they keep it up, which has been a good thing for this case because we've been able to look at the home and look at the yard and look at everything because it's all on Zillow, right? So I'm glad they kept it up. um, yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, it's been up this whole time. Yeah, that's probably when they had all the good cameras on that house before they got changed. Yeah. Before they got changed, before they did everything, right? So, guys, that's all I really had for you tonight. I'm going to share with you my grannyism. So, remember to keep hope. Hope is the promise that anything is possible, right? Anything is possible. We watched all of those kids that were missing come home tonight, right? Different stories, different scenarios, different situations that they were in, right? Some parental abductions, some being sold, right? Autistic boy who wandered off, 16 years old, found when he was 19. That one reminded me so much of Sebastian, right? So guys, keep the hope alive, you know. Keep the hope alive. I honestly believe that Sebastian is going to be found alive. There's no evidence, none whatsoever, that there's no blood evidence, no clothing, nothing to say that he's not with us anymore on this earth. That's why law enforcement, Dog at Night, Nick Hong, all believe that Sebastian is still alive and he's out there somewhere. So keep the hope alive, guys. Keep the hope alive, okay? And even in your own life, keep hope alive. All right? Thank you so much. Please, please hit the like button on your way out. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granniescrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.